Welcome, welcome everybody. So appreciate our connection here and having you join me today. I want to say I have something special for you because not only will it be me training you, but I have someone joining me today. And what we're going to be talking about is mastering your accounting firm's workflows. And that's going to be with Shahram Zarshenas with Financial Sense. So I'm going to let you know you are in the right place if you're currently working using spreadsheets to manage workflows. You want to improve your workflow efficiencies, and you want to actually have workflow tools that maintain your quality as well as allows you to scale your firm. I really suggest that even though it's going to be compact, we're going to be sharing a lot of tips and resources. So have your pen and paper ready because we'll show you what to do and as well as how to be able to reach out to Shahram afterwards if you want to hear more. But I also want to say laying the foundation to your firm is tough. You have to document workflows, establish collaboration channels for your team, implement the right tech to overcome the challenges that you will face. And that is where Shahram has helped thousands of accounting firms overcome these challenges. He is the CEO of Financial Sense, and it's an easy to use practice management software. And it's specifically built to help accounting firms track the status of client work, collaborate with the team, and get work done. It doesn't get any better than that. So you can learn more about Financial Sense at financial-sense.com. But I'd like to first, right now, jump in and officially and properly introduce today's special guest. Shahram, I would love to welcome you to our conversation today. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk to you about this topic and the people in your group.
Excellent. So let's just kind of jump right in. Give us a little background about how you got to be doing what you're doing.
Yeah, so it's a really good question. So it's funny because I'm not actually an accountant. So I didn't at first experience this problem firsthand, but my brother, who's an accountant, I started to, see with what was going on in his world, some of these problems he was facing. So, I spent about a year interviewing accountants in accounting firms and really understanding the challenges they faced with workflow and really building out a workflow that could scale with their firm. And we saw, some of those big problems were, the visibility, knowing where everything stands, the organization, the ability to quickly access the information you need, as well as the collaboration, effective communication that is also organized in a place that it's easy to go back and reference. And these challenges, were preventing firms from scaling. But a lot of these challenges and obstacles were deriving from sticking to spreadsheets, paper, sticky notes. So we took all these insights and we learned how some firms were actually overcoming these challenges, and the best way to do that and use those insights to build Financial Sense, our product we have today. And it's been a really fun ride. We've been in the market for just over 2 years. We already serve well over 1,000 accounting firms. And we're constantly improving the product just to really help firms get more work done.
And because of that, can you tell me some of the benefits, maybe a specific about a client that has been using Financial Sense and how that's been able to help with their firm's scalability and growth?
Yeah, so I think one big benefit that helps with scalability is documenting your processes, right? So a lot of times when you're a solo firm owner, everything's in your head, from information about the clients, but also to how you actually do the work. So the biggest bottleneck when scaling your firm is not just finding that talent, but training that talent. And it's a lot easier to train your talent when you take those steps and document that process, not just on a piece of paper, but on something that your new hires can easily access and follow along as they do the work. So you can document your processes in Financial Sense, but not just document the steps, but also store all the client information, all the login information to access those apps to get the work done, store videos that show how you do the work. So training your team is a lot easier, so you can ramp up faster and onboard people faster to take on that work. But also it helps maintain work quality, right? So the biggest driver for accounting firms for growth from what we've seen is referrals, them doing a great job impressing their clients and those clients referring new clients to them. The best way to do that is to deliver consistent client deliverables every week, every month, over and over again. If everyone's doesn't have a clear process, it's really hard to maintain that consistency at scale. So by also documenting your processes, you're driving more consistent client deliverables, but while also empowering your team to get the work done on their own.
Then part of what I'm hearing, and I just want to clarify, is part of the reason that you want firms to get away from running everything on spreadsheets and doing things in your system is because it allows them to maintain work quality where everybody's on the same page, you're all communicating one place, and it enhances the client experience because of the fact that there's consistency as opposed to things are haphazard. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. And, some people, you can make the argument, you can document your processes in an Excel file, but then when you share that with your team, they make changes to it. There's no like single source of truth or, over several team members, people can make changes. There could be different variations of those documents. So you really need one place that is a single source of truth and is where everyone goes and is synced across the board to where, everyone's doing the work the right way. But to build on kind of what you were talking about too, it's not just about knowing what to do, but it's also having the information you need to do it. You can't store the client's contact information, or securely really store their login information to their apps, or you can't, maybe you can print out an email and copy paste it into an Excel file, but all the emails, you can't collaborate with your team in Excel. You can't do all that in Excel. And if you're not doing Excel, it's happening in your inbox. It's happening in Slack. It's happening via text. It's in some random folder somewhere. So all this information is siloed off into all these different channels. It makes it really hard for your team to find. And if your team can't find the information they need to get their work done and complete those processes that you've documented at the end of the day, it's going to kill your productivity because they're going to spend 30 minutes trying to find it. They're going to maybe interrupt you asking where it is and then having you show them where it is. So by putting it all in one place, the collaboration, the processes to follow, the client information, it keeps everything organized and keeps your team productive so you can get your work done on time.
And so here I'm hearing about all the communications within your team in one place. Does that also include communications with your clients also come into financial sense as well?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So there's two ways we have that, right? So we do have an email integration. So we believe in integrating your email into your workflow because at the end of the day, workflow starts in email. Clients ask you to do something for them. You get those ad hoc requests. You want to be able to turn that email into a task and track it on your to-do list versus, just making note of it in your inbox where it could get buried because accountants get hundreds of emails a day, right? That's a huge problem. It's hard to keep up with stuff in your inbox. Or maybe you get an update from a client on a change with how you're doing the monthly bookkeeping or payroll work this month. So you want to be able to tag those emails and those updates to the work instead of just forwarding it to a team member where, again, it's going to get buried. So yeah, communication is definitely happening inside Financial Sense in terms of email. But outside of that, we also have the ability to automate communication with clients. So another big issue around workflow is most work does not get done on time or you don't hit your deadlines because you're waiting on your client to send you information. You can't continue the work until they get it to you. It can be very time consuming to have to follow up with your client every week. In Financial Sense, you can set up automated reminders to your clients and it will securely request that information automatically. They can upload it. And not only do they upload it, but it goes directly into your workflow. So again, your team can access the client communication, the documents they shared with you, but you can also get it faster because they're getting automatically reminded every single month at the same time and every 3 days until they get it done.
Okay, that right there was like a gem because I was just speaking a couple hours ago with a small group of my coaching clients about PITA or headache clients.
Mm-hmm.
And the main thing that came up, top of the list, was about waiting on information from clients and that they don't want to keep on bugging them and it's affecting their own productivity and workflow. So the fact that it can be set up once and then it's done for you and And so financial sense is the one that's pinging the client, not the
Yeah.
accounting professional any longer. That is a beautiful solution.
Yeah, we actually hear that a lot. Having the automation is great because it saves you time, but it also saves you like some mental capacity because you don't have to worry about bugging your client anymore because financial sense will auto chase them down for you. So you don't have to worry about being the one that's actually bugging them, which is great.
And so are there any other challenges that you see with firms that are running everything on spreadsheets that we haven't touched on yet?
I think the biggest challenges with spreadsheets is the lack of collaboration, right? The lack of, everything's instead, because you can't store all these documents and all these emails on a spreadsheet effectively. So everything's being stored, everything else. So it's disorganized, it's siloed off. But also one I've heard a lot is it's easy to delete stuff out of Excel, right? It's easy to accidentally delete something that was important and not realize it. And we've heard a lot of people want to get away from spreadsheets because it's causing them to overlook things or things that slip through the cracks because them or someone on their team accidentally deleted it without realizing it. So there is also like a quality control issue you see sometimes with Excel spreadsheets, and just they're cumbersome to maintain, right? You get to a certain size, having to update and rerun spreadsheets every single week, make a new copy for the next month, for the next year. They become cumbersome and more time consuming to maintain as you get bigger and grow your team.
Okay, that's like a business that continues to use a rotary dial-up phone instead of a smartphone, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, why do it manually when you can have it done by AI, automated for you?
Yeah, automation is key, and especially nowadays, a lot of firms are struggling to find good talent or retain good talent. So a lot of these firms don't have the capacity that they need to really maintain their client base. It's causing firm owners to work 80 hours a week because they can't find a new hire. So they've got to get the work done somehow. So they're powering through it. But what we see is that you can actually use these tools, not just to increase productivity, because now you and your team can find documents faster, they can get work done faster, but you can automate a lot of these little time-consuming processes that add up over time, like recreating your work every single month or automatically chasing down clients for information. So there's a lot of benefits that come out of not just being more organized, but saving more time. So you don't have to actually maybe hire another team member right now because you can save 5-6 hours a week by automating some of these time-consuming processes.
So something else that I think you're talking about, and I really want to emphasize because I think it's so important, is a lot of times it's more difficult to find the right team member for your firm than it is to find a new client. And if you can do anything to make that team member feel valued or to ease their frustration, they're going to stay with you longer and be a more loyal team member to your firm than if you're doing things old school and it just adds frustration, overwhelm, and keeps them from really finishing out, closing out maybe a client's books because they're waiting on information. Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, it's funny. So I completely agree, right? I was just talking with someone about this beforehand. We're working on a webinar and we're talking about really this like automating these processes to not just increase capacity, but to drive a better experience for your employees and help you retain them. So if they're not doing all these little mundane tasks every single week, every single month, this low admin work, they can focus on more high impact work, stuff that's going to matter to them, working with the clients, getting the work done, feel like they're actually achieving something versus doing these little repetitive processes that, they might put them to sleep even at their desk. So at the end of the day, if you can automate some of these time consuming and painful processes, it makes your team happier because it feels like they're working on something that really matters and has an impact on the firm. But also, like you said too, like creating a more frictionless process for your team, not having to go through that, just the painful process in general of chasing down a client over and over again every single week, letting them take on more work. It keeps everyone more happy. It's a really great way to drive better retention and morale across your team.
Absolutely. And so we talked about the problem as far as the workflows goes, communication all over the place when you have spreadsheets, and how this is really a way to retain better better talent with your employees, as well as improving the customer experience. So are there any challenges that firm owners have in making this transition and implementing this as a workflow tool?
Yeah, I think with anything a firm implements, whatever type of technology it is, time, right? I talk to a lot of firm owners and they're always busy. They're always, they've got work, they've got to hit the next deadline. It's never really easy for them to implement something new in their firm because they don't have the time to do it. So what we recommend, and it's kind of why the focus at Financial Sense has been focused on ease of use, creating something that is easy to learn, easy to train, and easy to set up is key for us. Because if you find a solution that you can get set up in just a few hours, it's not as big as a deal. Some of these tools out there, especially like an Asana or a ClickUp, that's not built for accounting firms. You have to hire a consultant and pay them thousands of dollars to set it up for you. Or you can do it yourself, but you have to watch hours and hours of videos and then figure it all out on your own, which could take weeks. So time is probably the biggest challenge. So finding something that's built specifically for accounting firms can help them overcome that because it's ready outside the box. It's intuitive. The format, not just because it doesn't have all these other bells and whistles that are distracting, but the overall just format is designed for firms and it just feels right. It's more intuitive. So, we have firms that get set up in under 2 hours, ready to go, implemented. That's a lot easier. But also at the end of the day, it's not just about the setup, right? It's also about getting your team to actually use it. If you do something that's complex, if you do something that's just a little overwhelming, just too much, your team's not going to adopt it at the end of the day. And if your team doesn't use it, it's worthless because it's a work collaboration tool. If you can't collaborate with your team because they're not using it, they're still using spreadsheets because it's just easier, then you don't need it. You can't use the solution in the first place, and it makes everything else obsolete. So, I think the biggest challenge is time. But the best way to do that is to find something that makes sense for your team, is easy to use. And the best way to do that is to go with something that's actually built for accounting firms.
One of the things I think that's coming out of this also, as I'm listening to you, Shahram, is that it improves efficiencies over time. And that when you're improving efficiencies over time, because you're bringing in AI, like what Financial Sense offers, then it increases your profit margin significantly because you're going to get better with the learning curve as you're using it more and more and as your team becomes more comfortable with it. So not only does it actually help with the time management, but it also increases the profitability of any particular client. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, in my eyes, it comes down to two things. It comes to like being able to streamline your process, right? So if your team has a clear process to follow and they know exactly how to do the work, it's going to prevent mistakes, right? It's going to help them go faster, not have to sit and think, how am I supposed to do this? Who do I interrupt to ask how to get this done? So it makes everyone more productive so they can get more work done because they can get it done faster. But also with the automation we were talking about, you're saving 10 hours a week, that adds up, right? Now that means they have 10 extra hours. You can take on 10 more hours worth of clients from new clients, and then without increasing your biggest expense, which is payroll. So you'll be able to take on more clients because your team can handle X amount more clients now because they're more productive and you've automated the time consuming processes that don't need to be done by a person. And you're able to then increase your profit margin because expenses stay somewhat linear while your revenue grows. It's straight profit. So we see a lot of firms increase profitability because they have a more streamlined process. They're not spending 10, 15 hours a week chasing down clients and recreating work and running all these reports in Excel that they don't need to be doing.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to say, adding to your bottom line without having to devote more hours to anything is a beautiful thing. So we want to absolutely make things easier for accounting firms and their team members as opposed to harder because they already devote so much time and energy to their clients. So any tips that you have for firms that are looking to maintain work quality as they scale that you can share with us?
I would definitely say that goes back to documentation. The best way to maintain work quality is to document your processes, right? Write down how you're doing the work, get it out of your brain onto an Excel file, into a workflow solution, document it with video, and share that with your team so they know exactly how to get the work done. You don't want them, especially as you grow, people create their own ways of doing things because they're not sure how things get done. And then they'll maybe teach that to someone else when they train the new employee, and it creates inconsistent deliverables. So documenting your processes is key for maintaining work quality.
And I fully agree with you. And that's sometimes the things that hold them back from actually adding to their team, is that they think they need to have everything documented before adding to your team. But sometimes adding to your team first gets you to where you finally have to get in action and start documenting also.
Yeah.
So it's like, which one comes first?
And it's funny. So, I see a lot of firms, they kick the can down the road, right? They don't ever end up documenting the processes because they think they have to spend weeks doing it, right? But there's a lot of tips. And what we recommend firms is just even a simple checklist, right? Don't create a 30-page SOP document at first. Just create a simple checklist. It could be the high-level 10 steps of how you do a monthly bookkeeping process for your clients. That could take less than 5 minutes to write. So what we tell firms is give yourself 5 minutes, time yourself, and then just dump that information onto a piece of paper. Don't worry about the spelling. Don't even worry if it's the right order. Get that done in 5 minutes. Then go back, make sure everything's in the correct order, fix the spelling mistakes. You documented a process in around 5 minutes. You follow that. So you could document every process in your firm in less than an hour. And yes, it's not perfect, but that's a great foundation that you now have that anyone you hire can use. And it only took an hour of your time. And then once you've done that, if you do find the time, go back and, again, I wouldn't recommend creating a 30-page process video. Record a video as you do work, right? Doesn't take any extra time. Plug that into the checklist. Now your team can see exactly how you do it in a video and complete each step in the process. Go back and add in the client's contact information or other information they may need to complete those steps. So it doesn't have to be, I have to perfect it, right? Start small, keep it simple, just lay the foundation, and you'll get so much value from that as well.
Well, one of the things that you're talking about that I agree with is perfection or waiting till it's perfect is a form of procrastination. It holds you back. I believe in what I call building the plane as you fly it. So you're continuing to make improvements as you're going through the process and fine tuning them. And that way you're actually moving forward, as you said, with this productivity tip of documenting processes as opposed to continuing to stall. So appreciate you sharing that. And I just want to say, is there anything else that we missed that you want to make sure that we touch on before we start to wrap up?
No, I don't think there's so much we could talk about, but I don't think there's
I understand. I had like 5 other topics come up in my head as we were going through this. So.
No, this has been great. I don't have anything else.
Well, I just want to say you made so many powerful points today. It's been a great conversation. Some of the things that we touched on is getting away from using spreadsheets to manage your workflows, improving workflows by being more efficient as opposed to staying with the status quo because it's comfortable, workflow tools that really will maintain quality as your firm scales. So once again, thank you, Shahram. I so appreciate what it is that you're offering through Financial Sense. Please share how someone can reach out and get in touch with you and find out more.
Yeah, definitely. So you can go to our website, www.financial-sense.com, and that's sense with a C, so spell like the coin. And, just go to the website. You can learn all about us. There'll be a little blue circle icon down on the bottom. If you have any questions while you're browsing the site, our team will answer them for you. You can start a free trial. It's full featured. You can invite your team. You can test it out for 14 days. No credit card required. Again, you can talk to our team. You can do a demo. They'll walk you through the product, answer any questions you have if you're interested.
Thank you so much. And this is Loren Fogelman, Business Success Solution, showing accounting professionals how to double their income working half the time. Until next time, take care.